Thank you all so much for being here. I hope you enjoyed the dog. He's a fun little opening, trying new things. So thank you all for coming. Some of you were on planes, trains, automobiles, got on, you're sleeping in hotels, you're leaving your families, you have a huge to-do list that's waiting for you, and you chose to be here for the day. So I really, really appreciate it. Appreciate your time, appreciate your energy, and your contribution to what we're going to be creating here today. So a little bit about how did we get here. 3 months ago, I was on a phone call with Robin Zander, who is the executive director of the Responsive Conference, which is happening the next 2 days. I know some of you are attending that as well. I will be around. And he was like, so Jenny, what do you want to do at Responsive this year? I've been a presenter in the past. I'm also an advisor. And I was like, well, you know, Robin, I've done this event last year, offsite for offsites, which I loved. But in the back of my mind, I was like, I've been percolating on this idea, the conference for conferences. And I feel like it'll be a good 1-2 punch with Responsive. What if I did it as the opening day? This will be like future of gathering. And then you do Responsive, and that'll be like future of work. And he said, well, Jenny, to most anyone else, I would say no. But to you, I would say yes. And so it's been a 3-month whirlwind sprint since that moment to arrive here. So thank you to Robin, who I know will be around today, and he'll be leading a workshop later today as well. So that was the collaboration with Responsive. And then with the Culture Conference is an event I ran in 2017 and 18, invite only for organizational leaders about organizational culture from the inside out. Previous to that, I was in the health and wellness field. I have a friend here from the Yoga Journal conferences that I was a part of for many years, traveling around the world, teaching at high-level yoga conferences, a practice called acro yoga. And in that time, it was, very experiential, very practical, very hands-on, community-oriented. And then I left the yoga world very dramatically and went very different direction into like corporate business land. And I got to those conferences and I was like, oh no, this is terrible. I felt deep rage. And I'm not exaggerating when I say like deep rage. You can ask my husband. I would get like so activated and really angry at what I felt was just so much missed opportunity for real learning, for deep connections, for relationships. It just drove me crazy. And I had so much life force running through me about that I was like, I have to channel this into something positive. And that's where the Culture Conference was born. So I was like, let me do this conference. It'll be about culture. But actually, my ulterior motive was to reinvent the conference paradigm, or at least take a stab at it. So those 2 years, I was very much experimenting with what a conference could be. We got a lot of great feedback. And now, fast forward, 8 years later, I'm like, I'm ready to hit the nail on the head and just let's do a conference about conferences. And I'll put the culture piece to the side for now. So conference for conferences, here we are, very excited to share this day with you. That's a little bit of background. I want to acknowledge today is the tip of the iceberg, right? We have a big promise to reinvent conferences in one day. We're going to do our best. I think we can absolutely make a dent in it, and I'm really excited to figure that out with you all, and just to acknowledge that I had 3 months to do this, so this is not the model of what a conference can be. It's a model. It's some ideas. I hope whatever you experience here today that you love, you can take, emulate, modify in your own events. Anything you don't love, I hope gives you the clarity on what you do want to create. So just know that we will be iterating on this, hopefully, for many years to come together. And I want you to know that, I'm asking you to take risks. I'm asking you to be bold. I'm asking you to experiment. I want you to know that I'm absolutely doing those same things myself. A lot of the things we're doing here today, even though I've been doing events for 25 years, I'm doing for the first time. Never done a cold open video, never did an AI video. I've never hosted a fireside chat, which I'll be doing twice today. So, different things are going to be happening today that are absolutely new for me. I'm taking some risks. So I just want you to know that I'm taking risks right alongside you, and we're going to be experimenting together. So design principles. I think about these design principles with all of the content. So one thing I do know is everything that you're going to experience here today is going to be interactive, engaging, actionable, and fun. These are the 4 things I try to bring to all of the programming. And the promise that I'm hoping that you walk away with today is that you're going to leave with the confidence on how you can break the mold, clarity on how you're going to do it, and the community to support you along the way. So that's what we're working on for today. Who's in the room? We've got amazing people, and more will be coming as the morning goes on. But we've got organizational leaders from these organizations. A lot of folks who are head of HR, head of learning development, head of comms, head of global events, chiefs of staff. We have facilitators, trainers, coaches, speakers, experiential marketers, event entrepreneurs, conference founders. So amazing people in this room. A lot of you are friends, colleagues, collaborators, clients. I can absolutely guarantee that you're going to meet amazing people here today. So I'm very excited to have you all in the room. Many of you could absolutely be on the stage, and hopefully you will have those opportunities, if not today, in the coming year. So thank you all again for bringing your wisdom and sharing that with each other throughout the day today. A couple guidelines. I like to think about guidelines somewhat analogous to like the values of an event of a company, but I think of mindsets as really what are the mindsets that we're putting on. They're going to help us get the most out of the experience here today. So the first one is full participation. So doing your best to be fully present, focused, available to the magic and the wisdom that's going to be in the room, and that often means just minimizing our devices. So if you can put it on silent or put it in your pocket as much as possible. You'll see that nothing here today is using technology for the most part. We're going intentionally analog. There's no event app. That's all very intentional. So as much as you can kind of put your phone away and forget about it, that will help us to just be present and be human together. The second is a stranger is a friend you haven't met yet. So I want to invite you to just see everyone in this room as a potential mentor, friend, collaborator, ally. So if you would, just take a moment to kind of look around. Who's next to you? Who's behind you? Who's in front of you? Just kind of be like, oh, wow, this person could become a meaningful person in my life, right? Like maybe there's actually a new business that's going to be born or a new event idea that will come to fruition. We have no idea. But the more open we are to that, the more possible it is to happen. And I would love to just see a show of hands. If someone's looking for a place to sit at lunch and they're not quite sure where to go, is it okay if they sit with you? Okay, great. And if you're in a conversation and someone comes up to you and is interested in what you're talking about, is it okay for them to join your conversation? Yes? Great. Okay. So now we have permission, right? Go meet new people, say hello, join a conversation, join a lunch table. Everyone is open to that. Thirdly, expanding your edge. So getting comfortable being uncomfortable, make a new mistake, try things on and see what works. So we're always asking our participants, our attendees, our audiences to get out of their comfort zone. This is a chance for us to do the same and kind of just lean into what's new, what's possible. So sometimes it's a little bit edgy. Hopefully it will be fun along the way, which leads me to, if you're having fun, you're doing it right. There's no right or wrong way to be here. So make this your stand up, move around, get fresh air, like do whatever you want and whatever you need so that you can feel like you're a positive presence in the room and you can enjoy yourself. I hope this feels like somewhat of a vacation for you from your day-to-day, right? It should be enjoyable, not boring and draining. And lastly, I want to invite you to give generously and receive abundantly, right? So we all have so much wisdom to share, and hopefully we give that freely. We can bring our best ideas and resources, but we can also really take in new learnings, right? If we all had the answers already, we wouldn't be here. We're all here to learn. We're all here to grow. So if you are willing to agree to these 5 guidelines for today, these 5 mindsets, I'd like to ask you to clap with me on the count of 3. So 1 hand up, 1 hand down. 1, 2, 3. You got it. All right, so now we're in and we've agreed to these guidelines. One way that you can apply giving generously and receiving abundantly is by giving gold stars. So on the inside of your program, you'll see that there's 10 gold star stickers in your program. And they're there so that when a fellow attendee offers something that moves you or inspires you, they offer a helpful insight, you can gift them a gold star to say thank you. And this is the way that we kind of like pay it forward, right? Are we able to acknowledge one another and say, that was really meaningful. I was really inspired by that. Thank you for that piece of advice. Thank you for that idea. So please do spread them far and wide. If you run out, we have more at registration. I challenge you to give out all 10 stars by the end of the day. So really give them out freely. They're mostly meant for fellow attendees. You can give them to presenters if you want, but presenters are going to be having the stage. But it's really more about conversations, exchanges you're going to have with each other. So those are the gold stars. So you get to be kind of kindergarten teacher in that moment. We're going to get to know each other a little bit more. So in a few moments, I'm going to ask you to find somebody near you who you don't yet know. And we're going to be drawing portraits of one another on the front of your program. So there's a nice empty space on the front of your program, and that is where the portrait will happen. So a couple of guidelines that might help you embrace this opportunity, especially if you feel like, I'm not an artist, I'm not creative, I'm going to do a bad job. It's totally okay. It's not supposed to be realistic. A stranger is a friend, so you're going to meet a new friend, you're going to expand your edge, try something new, and just have fun with it. So that's the idea. So when we draw this portrait of our partner, there's 2 rules. The first rule is that you do not look down at your page while you're drawing your portrait, which means it doesn't have to be pretty, it doesn't have to be realistic at all. So you're going to be facing your partner, you're not looking down at the page. The second rule is that you don't lift your pen off the page, so it's one continuous line drawing. I like to call this kind of an instant Picasso, because that's oftentimes what it looks like. So what you'll do, make sure that you have your name written on your program. That should be towards the bottom on the front. And we might need some extra programs if anybody doesn't have one. Yeah, we'll grab some. If anybody doesn't have one, we'll bring some in for you. So make sure you have your name on it. And then I'll invite you. We're going to all do the drawing at the same time. So I'll cue you and I'll talk you through it. So we'll all do it together. So just wait for me before you start drawing. But for this moment, look around and see if you find somebody near you that you do not know yet. You might need to move, and that's okay. And then you're going to exchange programs. If you need more programs, Haley's got programs. Okay, excellent. Thank you so much for being willing to try that on. I originally learned that exercise of blind portrait drawing from Adam Rosendahl, who's right up here, a dear friend and collaborator who leads Late Night Art. He's going to be leading one of the breakouts later this morning on creativity in the arts. So if you want more cool, fun exercises like that you can insert into your program, you can check out his session. I'm also a late night facilitator and advisor, and just love the program and the process and all the tools. So thank you. So thanks for being willing to engage with that. Now you will not be able to lose your program because they all look alike, but your portrait is unique to you. So thank you for engaging with that. You might have moved away from your partner, but you're going to move back to your partner because we're going to do a pair share with this person. So 4 minutes, fairly quick. In this time, I'm going to ask you just to share your name with your partner and your relationship to conferences. Are you an attendee? Are you an organizer? Are you a contributor? What role do you play? And maybe even how you feel about conferences, or do you have a conference project you're working on? Anything you want to share about your relationship to conferences. And one cool thing that you've created or experienced at a conference that you thought really worked. So let's start with the positive. Share something good. There's good things out there, right? So you're going to have about 2 minutes each, 4 minutes total. And I want to invite you to aim for equal voice. So you have a partner, you're speaking 50% of the time, listening 50% of the time, and just accept non-closure when you hear the bell. There's so much more we could all say. And we're going to have, the rest of the day to do that. So when we kick it off, the first person who is wearing the darker shirt is going to start. You'll have 2 minutes. I'll ring a bell. I'll let you know when it's time to switch partners, and then I'll ring another bell when we're at the end of the 4 minutes. So back to your portrait partner. 4 minutes to share. First person with the darker shirt is starting now. Cool. Thank you so much. So you got to meet a new friend already. See, it's already happening. And we got to talk about some cool things at conferences. We're going to experience some cool things at conferences. I want to talk a little bit about the origins of the word conference, right? Where did this even come from? What are we talking about when we're talking about conferences? So the origins of the word came from the Latin confere, which means to bring together. And it originally started showing up in the late 14th century, originally meaning a meeting of persons for discussion or the act of consulting together. Very formal. It was actually had a lot of religious kind of in the churches, they would bring people together. So it went from the churches to kind of academia and philosophy, and now we're in modern age times. So I'd like to put forth this working definition just for our experience here today to give us a little bit of context for when we say conference, what do we actually mean by that? So this is just a definition that I came up with. I would say a conference is a larger event. So what is larger? I would say probably 50 to 100 people to me feels like kind of the baseline of a conference, but maybe different for you. But say a larger event where multiple perspectives are shared, right? So it's not one person leading, but we have many people bringing their expertise or curiosity into the room. And so multiple perspectives are shared to support deep learning, right? So we're really diving into usually a certain topic or a certain theme. We really want to kind of dig ourselves into something of substance. and then while building meaningful relationships. So I think this is, again, a piece where a lot of conferences are missing that opportunity to really connect with fellow attendees, where we're building community and we're getting to know each other better. So we leave with a community of like-minded people that we can continue collaborating with after the fact. So this is what we're going to, as we're talking about conferences, thinking about something along these lines. So what's broken about the current conference paradigm and what needs to change? You wouldn't be here if you didn't believe there wasn't room for improvement, right? So let's talk about kind of where things are and where they might be going. So we're going to be thinking about a primary shift. This is the name of my consulting company. It is one of the first things I do when I work with clients and they're doing events or experiences. We talk about what is your primary shift. A primary shift is a from-to statement that captures the promise of your event, right? How are attendees going to be changed during or by your event? In my experience as an experience designer, it's like if people walk in and out the same way, we haven't done our job. What fundamental change are we trying to create through this event or experience? And we can narrow that down to a primary shift. So there might be many shifts that you're trying to make. What is the most important one? What is the linchpin? What is the one that if you nail, everything else happens more easily and gracefully and powerfully? So that is a primary shift. So we're going to be writing our own primary shifts, thinking about what change you want to see happen in the conference paradigm. So one sentence that encapsulates the main and most important change you think needs to occur in the current conference paradigm. So the primary shift defines your roadmap to the destination. I find most people are really good at defining the two, like where do you want to go, what do you want to happen? But we also want to start with the from. Where are we now? Where are we meeting our audiences? What is this current moment? So we're both going to decide and define the from and the to so that we know what that journey arc is. If you have a really big primary shift, a really big promise, you got to make sure that you have the time and the ability to deliver on it. So right now, I'm going to ask you in your workbooks, you'll see on pages 8 and 9, if you thumb through, there's some blind writing pages there for you. So in your workbook, I'd like you to draft a primary shift statement for the main change you think needs to happen in the current conference paradigm. You're going to try to do it in one sentence, so it's a from to. Conferences need to shift from this to that, and shorter and simpler is better. I'm going to give you about a minute and a half to do this. So you might write a few versions and then pick your favorite one. So about a minute and a half, and we're going to kick some writing music for you now. Hopefully that was sufficient time for you to get something on your paper. In a moment, I'm going to ask to hear some primary shifts. So we'd love to hear from you. We have two wonderful mic runners. Deirdre's here and Alan's there. They've got mics. They can come to you. If you're willing to share your statement, I would just love for you to stand up, share your name, and share the statement that you came up with. And if you want to give us like 1 or 2 sentences of context on that, that's also helpful. So this is a moment to harness the wisdom in the room, hear from you. So if you'd be willing to share your statement, we'd love to hear from a few people. And Alan and Deirdre will be happy to come to you. So if you could stand up and say your name and then share your statement.
Hi, everybody. I'm Liz.
Hi, Liz.
I shift conferences from excruciating email-checking study halls to joyful, dynamic experiences of vitality, vulnerability, and action.
Beautiful. And let's give some snaps. So when we're here to share, we can snap it up. All right. Deirdre has one. All right. Share your name and your statement.
Hi, I'm Lee. I'm on the red mic.
Right.
I think it's simple. Conferences need to shift from content to connection.
Hey, love that one. Yeah, content to connection. Thank you so much. Great, we've got one here.
Hi, I'm Juan Carlos. I think conference should change you from being a taker to being a giver.
Nice, thank you. Great. I think there's one up. Yeah, there's one here and one there. We're going to go up to the top. Thank you.
Hello.
Hello.
My name is Austin Drabick, and I think conferences need to shift from posturing to digging.
Posturing to digging. Nice. Thank you. Great. Let's hear like maybe 2 more.
Hi, I'm Katie D'Amico. Mine's just pretty much simple. From exhausting to invigorating.
Nice. From exhausting to invigorating. And maybe one more. Who's going to be our last one right here?
Conferences should go from calling in experts to activating group wisdom and intelligence.
Beautiful. Yes. Lovely. Thank you. Thank you all so much. So I pre-wrote some of these that perhaps resonate with you or underline some of what was shared. So I think some shifts that we're looking at, from boring to engaging, right, at a very basic level, from informational to transformational, from planned to emergent, from content to connection, so +1 over there, from presentational to experiential, from networking, which I believe is a 4-letter word, to community building, and from speaker-centric to attendee-centric. So these are some other frames we might be thinking about. How might we be shifting conferences? What does a new paradigm of conference perhaps look like in the very near future? So why are there so many conferences, right? And I think it's because the standard format is very plug and play, right? It leaves very little risk for the organizer and very low expectations on behalf of attendees, right? It's like kind of going to McDonald's. You're like, okay, another conference, sit in the back, check your email, and listen to people drone on, right? You kind of know what it is. I believe our audiences deserve more, and so do you. And I think we can do it. And I think it's not that hard. Like, if we put our heads together and a little bit of creativity and innovation, like, I absolutely think we can shift this paradigm. And I know that there are events that are already doing this. Like, it has already begun, and we can continue to bring it to fruition. So there's 3 event models that I've seen, that I've kind of coined in my experience of looking at conferences, that I want to share with you. And just, it may give you some frames to help make sense of what's going on. The first 2 are default. They're things that we fall into kind of by mistake. And the third one is intentional and strategic. And it's how I've designed this conference, which I'll be sharing more about. So the first one is the flat line, which I think about. This is your standard, typical conference model, right? There's a beginning, middle, and an end. Nothing much changes. Very much on the horizontal plane. You have an opening speaker, and then another speaker, and then a panel, woo, and then a breakout, watch out, breakout, and then lunch, and then a speaker, and then a fireside chat, and then a closing speaker, and then it's happy hour. It's kind of your conference, right? Like, that's kind of what it is. Standard model, maybe in a slightly different order, but these are the elements, right? And so when we do a flatline model leaves people feeling bored, disengaged, and overwhelmed, right? People are scrolling YouTube, watching panda videos instead of actually learning or connecting. So unfortunate, but this is kind of where we're at currently, right? Chaos model. So I like to think of chaos model is very well-intentioned, often overly ambitious organizers who just want to cram a whole bunch of content in there. And it just is all over the place. And I was in an event like this last year, I think, in LA. And it was at a venue which was like very difficult to find your way. You had to go up this elevator, but not that elevator. The signage was off. It was only like 150 people. There were way too many options at any one given time. There were excursions, there were on-sites and off-sites, and it was like, I don't even know what to do here. You can have, speakers that are saying contradictory things happening at very odd times, right? We've all been to chaos model. Nobody intends to do chaos model, but sometimes you fall into it, right? Or things are running late, or something breaks, and then you're like, whoops. And chaos model generally leaves people feeling confused and frustrated. It's like, what is the organizing principle here? What is the intention behind this? It's not clear. So first we have our flat line. Second, we have our chaos. Don't want to fall into those. The third that I would invite us to consider is a dramatic arc model. So my background is in theater, and I took basically the dramatic arc from theater and storytelling and applied it to an event's context. So there's 12 different elements on this template. I'm going to talk more about that at the end of the day, and I'm going to reverse engineer how I designed this event using the dramatic arc, and I'll show you that at the end of the day. But for now, I'll just say that I've trained thousands of people around the world to use this model. How many of you here have trained with me in the past or done this? Yeah, quite a few of you. So you're familiar with this. And I reverse engineered it after 10 years of teaching the Acro Yoga practice, creating teacher trainings, immersions, conferences, all kinds of programming. I was like, what are the universal elements here that could be distilled, that could be universal for any audience, any context, any content, any length of time? So you'll see it has a beginning and an end, but there's a peak at the top. And from the beginning to the end, you have a primary shift. So you have to think about what is that main transformation you want to create for your audience. At the top, there is a pinnacle. The pinnacle is your literal and figurative point. It is the reason why we're here. It is where your promise comes to life in an experience. And then on the way up, we create shared purpose and we build community. And on the way down, we do some integration and takeaways so people leave feeling grounded and clear about their next steps. So this is high level what the model looks like. I'll share more about it later. So participants are giving you their most precious resource, which is their time and attention, right? So that is what you are giving me as a gift right now, and I take that very, very seriously, and I consider it an honor, right, to be given your time and attention. So as we think about that, how will you make the most of the live, in-person group experience? We're going to be talking and thinking and experimenting a lot with that today. So I want to just leave you with that question that we can continue pondering. How will you make the most of the live group in-person experience? Some of you might be doing virtual summits, hybrid summits, right? Those are all really valid too, and we can talk about the modifications for that. Most of us, I think, in this moment are craving that in-person connection again. So let's just keep thinking about how do we make the most of this? What can we do in person that we can't do alone, that we can't do asynchronously, that we can't do virtually or in 1 hour? If we're going to spend a day or 2 days, how do we really maximize that time? So I'm going to introduce you to a tradition here. What I did at Culture Conference that continues. I like to do standing ovations to welcome our presenters and speakers to stage. And so we do that at the beginning of their talk instead of the end, or you can do it at the end too, whatever you like. But we're going to do it at the beginning. And part of this for me is really about celebrating not only what that speaker or presenter is going to share with us in terms of their wisdom, but it's celebrating who they are. It's celebrating their entire life experience that they're bringing onto the stage when they come up to us in front of the room. And I will tell you, and many of you are speakers and stand on stages, to start with a standing ovation is a really lovely way to begin your session, and just feels really, really welcoming and lovely and celebratory. And it's a way for us to be able to like stand up, hoot and holler, give it our all, and really show the person on stage that we are 100% present there and excited for what they have to offer. So when we do the standing ovation, I'll ask you to stand up if that's physically accessible for you. If not, you can stay in your seat, but bring your big energy. So this is like 10 out of 10 energy for about 10 seconds.